We must realize, but without these fragments, we would actually enter some geocultural vacuum. So I'm talking not only about traditional cultures. Geocultures based on large-scale resource projects form completely different geocultural discourses. So these are some small islands on the backgrounds of more developed geocultures. So there is some discrepancy between the regional culture, Aboriginal culture, and the introduced technological cultures. So the same visual images of northern spaces can be perceived, experienced, represented, and interpreted in different ways. So, for example, we have the culture of old settlers, people who came to this place like 50, 60, or maybe 100 years ago. Or, for example, in the case of Yakutia, we have old settlers who came 400 years ago. So this is the culture of people who explored this territory for the past 50, 60 years. So the geocultures of geological or anthropological culture, people who worked almost their life here, but their origin basically the European part and central cities, and northern geocultures, they are hybrid cultures. And very often the representatives of these two different cultures don't understand what they want to tell each other. So another important issue is the space of the north. It is a source of unique figurative geographical deposits. So, though demographically not that significant on the global level, uh, North can produce a large variety of exotic images, but they become more and more desirable for people who live in more developed, technically developed areas. So this is a very powerful factor, and we can forecast that the North is becoming a reservoir of new, unexpected, but maybe desirable images. So people want to experience some impressions which they uh, can hardly get in their places of residence. So the North is a space of intensive development of core specialities, collision and interaction of extremely different cultures. And there is not only a geopolitical struggle between different powers. The North itself is very attractive emotionally. So, and the last point, the North is a potential center of new geo-ontologies and geo-ideologies, and actually it can become a home to hybrid innovations and mobile postmodern translocal communities. Under severe conditions, this mobility develops through technologies. And so cultures made of some different fragments can lead to the establishment of some common basis. So the North is very attractive geoculturally, and on the other hand, it helps to develop new, very flexible technologies. So from outside, such communities can be perceived as post-nomads. So the North can become the place of new, more special identities. So this is the end of my presentation, and I would like to thank my colleagues for being so attentive. Thank you, Dmitry Nikolaevich. So we have seen the methodological base for the geoculture identity. It's very important for us to design our strategy. Thank you. I think that when all the speakers make their presentations, we will discuss and reflect on the topic. So our next speaker is me and Надежда Харлампьева. And we are going to talk about the culture and art of the Arctic journal. So yesterday at the meeting of the General Assembly, we presented our journal, which is published since 2015 under the State Institute of Art and Culture. And many of you have contributed to this journal in the past 5 years. And I would like to want to talk about our journal.
Претендует на патронат Международной организации Северного форума. Журнал «Культура и искусство Арктики» — это своеобразная площадка, причем достаточно уникальная площадка для межкультурной коммуникации ведущих арктиковедов, ученых, творческой элиты арктического мира. На страницах журнала...
On the pages of this magazine, the readers can read about fundamental academic ideas of scientists from the Arctic, and to get acquainted with new, interesting ideas and creative approaches in art and education. Innovative trends of the contemporary Arctic art. Here on the platform of this magazine, we get our readers acquainted with the lives of some interesting people, with the projects of the Arctic youth. The magazine sees its main objective in promoting the cultural heritage of Arctic peoples. We see our goal in promoting the cultural values and traditional knowledge of Arctic people. Many of our scientists and creators. They are contributing to our magazine. It is published in Russian and English languages. And it is trusted by the readers. And today, such interesting magazine that was created in 2014 under the initiative of President of our Republic, Mr. Borisov, and Deputy Chair of our government, Ms. Gabusheva. And the editorial group includes well-known actors of science and art who promote the cultural capital of the Arctic. The scientific and educational group of our magazine includes the State Institute of the Arctic Arts and Culture, and our partner is the St. Petersburg State University, because Nadezhda is the editor of our magazine. And the interesting topics in our magazine are the values of geocultural identity of peoples, the preservation of ecosystem, the preservation of cold, the Arctic art, and we promote all directions and domains of arts, like design, filmmaking, painting, etc. And also we tell about the projects, all Russian and international and regional projects in art. We see the future of our magazine as well, yesterday the Assembly approved our idea of becoming the priority project of the Northern Forum. And we see our future in the context of becoming a part of Web of Science Corpus, and we hope that thanks to the support from our partners from the entire Arctic world. So that's what I wanted to tell you about, and I think that Nadezhda will add to my presentation. Thank you, Sorgolana, dear participants of the roundtable. Good morning or good afternoon. I'm honored to present our magazine in the Northern Forum that we have been publishing since 2015. On behalf of our Department of Global Politics of St. Petersburg University and my colleagues, the lecturers who contribute to the publication of this magazine, and also our designers and translators. I would like to highlight that this is a great opportunity for us to work out some academic component for our students. Also, it's a great opportunity of presenting Northern and Arctic world to those students who study nature use and ecology. As long as we teach in English, some of our master programs, we have a lot of international students, and the courses on the Arctic, they have become very attractive. They attract a lot of students, not only from our university, but also from some partner universities. Since 1997, I have studied the international cooperation in the Arctic, and we are now we had to develop a feasibility study about why is Arctic becoming so attractive to the world. So the evolution of this concept of the Arctic was presented by myself to the magazine of the Academy of Sciences of Yakutia. And as Mr. Zamyatin said, that today the geocultural landscape every year we publish a lot of different works, but we have understood that geocultural space allows us to get acquainted with the images that represent the common world of the Northerners. And so I have concluded that Northern community, the Northerners, and then in 1991, the Northern Forum developed a program on the assessment and monitoring in the Arctic. Then in 1996, there appeared the community of Arctic states, and I believe that in the year of its 30th anniversary, the Northern Forum is representing a unified image of Northern community. And in our state, St. Petersburg State University, we work a lot with tangible and intangible heritage and ethics, how we should treat our very fragile cultural identity. And we are happy to join this process through our magazine. And I would like to thank all my colleagues and the Northern Forum. And I believe that St. Petersburg University will be a decent partner to the Arctic Institute of Culture and Arts and the Northern Forum. And I assure you that we are ready to work for the benefit of these Northerners and the Arctic region. Thank you, Nadezhda. The initiator of our roundtable is Andrei Borisov, the state councillor of the Sakha Republic, who was the Minister of Culture and Spiritual Development of Yakutia for 20 years, and he was the founder of our institute. And today, at the beginning of our roundtable, Mr. Borisov said that in 2014, our institute published a monography on the culture of the Arctic, headed by Uliana Vinokurova. And in this work, they defined some areas for the development of cultural potential of northern territories. Of course, there were many contributors from different regions of Russia and of the world. And then in 2017, at our institute, we established a lab to study. It was in 2014 under the leadership of Ms. Zamyatin. We established this lab, and this research was supported by the Russian Science Foundation. And after that, we published a very serious work named The Geoculture of the Arctic. So What is done today in Yakutia in terms of the Arctic cultural practices? I would like to give the floor to Mr. Borisov to tell us about it.
То, что на Северном форуме ведется разговор о культуре, это событие
So the
историческое.
fact that the Northern Forum is talking about culture is a historical event. I remember some 30 years ago, this Northern Forum was established, and then I was the Minister of Culture of the Republic. And back then, I wanted to introduce culture into the Northern Forum's agenda. When I was the Minister of Culture, in the Ministry of Culture of the Russian Federation, I was in the Committee on the Development of Culture in the North, and I wanted to understand what we could do, what practical activities we could do. And I was always astonished that people told that people were talking about norths in the plural form, and I thought that there are many norths. And so we are different ethnic groups. But when I read works by Ulyana Vinokurova, I understood that there is some circumpolar civilization, and we started this discussion. And I understood that I thought that it's better before establishing some theory, we should do some take some practical steps. So as a minister, I started these practical activities. So that's why my today's presentation is focused on practice. Well, I'm a bit nervous that Dmitry Zamyatin is here. And I always follow you on social media and I read your works.
Андрей Савич, что-то с интернетом, что ли? Вас не слышу.
Да, у них были проблемы с интернетом. Появился вроде.
Есть, да, звук есть, да?
Да, теперь слышно.
Дмитрий.
Все равно уходит. Дарьяна там.
Вот сейчас я нахожусь в Сахатеатре.
Now I'm in the Saha Theater. And I'm just back from the rehearsal. So I am staging a play about Chukotka. So this novel was written in the Soviet times about like Russian and American corporations fighting for resources in Chukotka, and how indigenous people find their place in this struggle. So this is actually very topical and relevant today.
Да, теперь есть. Уходит, приходит. Хорошо.
Буквально недавно наш глава Арсений Сергеевич Николаев.
So recently, the head of our republic, Arsen Nikolaev, in his address, told about new geocultural identity of peoples of Yakutia, and that we need to promote the paradigm of the Northern Republic development. I think not many people understood this, but our scholars, like Uliana Vinokurova, we started talking about this, and so that's why we need to focus on this, especially given the fact that we have the Arctic State Institute of Culture and Arts, and we have the State Theater of Indigenous Peoples. So you understand what symbols and codes are. So they rule the world.
Геокультурного развития. То есть мы, значит, утвердили устав и создаем на базе нашего учреждения одного институт геокультурного развития, куда вас приглашаем.
So we are establishing the Institute of Geocultural Development. So we are inviting you, and especially Dmitry Zamyatin, to join to this institute.
За моей спиной вот такая, ну, не медиа-презентация, а
So you see these models on the background. So this is the Arctic Center of Northern Arts. So this is center is under construction, and it will be launched in 2024. So we designed it to be launched in 2022, but due to the pandemic, it was delayed. So this center is called Arctic Center of the Epic and Arts. So we see actually the geocultural identity. So this center is on the shore of Saisari Lake. So there will be a hall for 1,500 people.
Андрей Савич, у нас связи нет. Так.
Культура.
Дарьяна, что там?
Слышно?
Так, слышно, да?
Вот теперь слышно. Угу.
Тем более, что культура Арктики – это культура уже многих народов.
So the Arctic culture is the culture of several ethnic groups, of numerous ethnic groups. And for the Sakha people, 30 years ago, the Ministry of Culture started extensive work on with indigenous cultures.
Нашу культуру довообразили. Теперь надо, чтобы культура Республики Саха-Якутия довообразила деятельность, довообразили, значит, до арктической парадигмы.
So we worked on the Sakha culture, and now the Sakha culture must expand to the Arctic culture. So for our roundtable and as a chairman of the Northern Forum Working Group on Culture, I proposed to focus more on practical projects, and our scholars
осмысление такое. Но на данном этапе нам надо больше обратить внимание на осмысление параллельно, как два колеса одной колесницы. То есть осмысление, теория, наука,
we must
философия.
be like two wheels of the chariot. So the academia and practical people. So based on the book mentioned by Svetlana Ignatieva, a monograph, so the chapters of this book, they actually set the directions for work. For example, Arctic culture in the global world, or Arctic identity, and so on. Images of the Arctic world, nature and cultural landscape. So this is actually the existing program.
Сделать программы и работать по этой программе, проводить разного рода семинары там.
So we must hold offline and online meetings, workshops. So this is a vast field for the Northern Forum activities. So one of the projects I'm involved is the beloved Blue Shore of Mine festival. So all the Arctic shores are beloved. And under this project, I have another sub-project, the epic heritage of the Arctic people. So Arctic is Northern Eurasia. So how epics are visualized in theater. So I think that in epics, our epics make us similar. So the epic heritage could be the foundation for finding similarities, and can be used to unite. No, this is not the right word, but to integrate the Arctic into the all Russian landscape and global landscape. So in conclusion, I would like to say that we are facing very interesting challenges to understand who is an Arctic person. So today, Arctic persons, they are not only like Chukchi-Aven and indigenous peoples of the North. So it is actually made by people from different ethnic backgrounds and from different economic backgrounds. So working out the image of the Arctic person is a very important task.
Закончили, да? Мы последнее слово не услышали, связь ушла.
Я сказал спасибо за внимание.
Thank you for your attention. And a round of applause, please.
Мы в конце, заключения нашего круглого стола.
At the end of our round table, we need to develop recommendations. So all the speakers, please, voice your proposals, your recommendations. So we are following our agenda. If you have some ideas, you can raise your hand and you will be given the floor. So our next speaker is Victoria Lukina, chairperson of the Arctic Center, a member of the Union of Journalists of the Russian Federation, a member of the Eurasian Association of designer, a member of the Russian Geographical Society, head of the Arctic session of the Creative Union of Artists of Decorative and Applied Arts. And he's going to talk about formation and support of the development of the creative personality of the youth of the Arctic, state policy and the needs of society.
Hello, thank you for having me as a speaker. The topic of supporting the gifted children and youth of the Arctic is now very topical. The strategy of the Arctic development of the Russian Federation has been approved by the President of the Russian Federation, and this document brings together the investment plans and all the companies for the development of Arctic regions and Arctic. And our proposals on the work with gifted youth of the Arctic becoming very topical within this uh, development strategy. The priorities here is the preservation of traditional culture and support of traditional lifestyle of the peoples who live in the Russian North. Raising the awareness of Russian citizens about the activities of the state in the Arctic, and also providing more information about the development of the Arctic zone, as well as the securing of involvement of regional organizations in the work of international organizations and forums. Working with talented youth in the priority areas of development of the Arctic zone, we know that native culture and native language make a basis for the culture and education and promote the development of our personalities. And we need persistent work. And I hope that our projects will be selected by the working group and will be included in the Arctic Children program that is put in place in Russia. And to support gifted children, we have to check their intellectual development and elaborate recommendations for their intellectual development, and also to create conditions for forming the professional skills and competence of teachers, and also to tailor the curriculum for the needs and requirements of specific children. There are several factors that we have to take into account when we work with gifted children, such as, for example, the sufficient level of self-control and their intellectual abilities. And different youth need different programs of support. And this creative giftedness is typical of the ability for producing new ideas, for being open to the environment, and to treat our environment in a proper way. We have to support the talents, the ability to speak their native and foreign languages, the participation in competitions and festivals. We believe that each gifted child is single case that requires some specific solutions. And the global experience shows that it is important not only to use the gift that has been given by nature, but also to create proper conditions for the development of this gift. So we suggest that our working group support our idea of creating this working group on the development, the intellectual development of gifted children. To develop a register of gifted children in the Arctic, then to produce a web portal that would collect the information on different grants and information about different regional and national events. And we hope that the cooperation with the magazine will be necessary. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope for our cooperation. Please send your proposals to us to be included in the resolution. Also in the chat, we saw congratulations on the work of our roundtable from Galina Alexeyeva. Thank you, Galina. We will also take into account your proposals. And Uliana Vinokurova, if you are here, please also say a few words.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues from Myanmar. It's good that we are discussing this issue today. And it's very good that it's becoming a priority for the Northern Forum because it's a very worthy issue. And there are many issues which should be legalized and understood, and I would like to talk briefly. So first of all, I would like to say that there are many geocultures of the Arctic. So we used to say telling norths in the plural. So they are all different, and Yakutia is a very unique geospace because in other regions of the northern of the Russian Federation, north corresponds to the Arctic. We have some certain duality. We have indigenous peoples of the north and newcomers. And unlike this, in Yakutia, there is the third chain, Saha people. And Saha people is the cultural core of different geocultures. So it's very important to understand this because the Arctic policy, which is implemented through state programs, laws, and resolutions and regulations on the federal level, they don't take into account the existence of the Saha people on the same territory with their regional culture. And I think that and this can have some drastic negative effects. So the title of the today's roundtable is talking about the geocultural identity of northern area. So we are talking about some territorial special identity. But our existing policy is focused on ethnic identity of indigenous peoples of the north on these territories, which is not enough. And moreover, it leads to some negative effects. So this is actually turning a blind eye to the Sakha people. It is a vital element of the Arctic geoculture. There have been various interesting researches of different cultures in our territories, but most of all, they were of ethnographic nature. And now we need to look at this from different perspectives. So, for example, who do we consider indigenous people of this territory? Who is an Arctic person? What is the definition? And only after giving this definition we can go further. What is the connection of this indigenous person with the environment? So what is the geocultural portrait? What is the connection with motherland? And so again, we don't study this issue sufficiently, and without extensive research of these two notions, we cannot go further. And those who really want improved living conditions and that trust between academia, business, and indigenous people, we need to address the current challenges and to introduce them into cultural guarantees and
территориальные сообщества, которые дадут нам возможность развивать арктические территории. А так, пока, как говорит,
and we will be able only then to develop Arctic territories.
с которыми, как говорится, занимаются отдельно взятые структуры, мы
so far different institutions focus on different areas of research. There is no holistic approach so far. We also must understand what is the image of the Arctic in the global world. So far, we consider culture as on the level of self-expression of specific ethnic groups. But we must understand that there is the general Arctic culture. So my first proposal is to work out a legal term, indigenous peoples of the Arctic. Recently, I attended a major international conference.
Нашей российской действительности эта декларация не работает.
But we see that the UN Declaration on Indigenous People doesn't work here. So we need to have some legal basis for the Arctic person, and then we can talk about their culture. So also on legal terms, we should have a legal definition of the Arctic culture. So the Russian legislation on culture, again, does not have this notion of Arctic culture. And when we develop this notion, then we will have clear picture what to do. So without working out these terms, we will be just exchanging our personal opinions.
И последнее, что я хотела, уважаемые
And the
коллеги,
last point,
обратить внимание на то, что
I would like to point out
у
that
нас совершенно не отработаны вот такие связь человека с землей, с исконной средой.
we haven't developed the connection of the person with nature and land. So my third proposal is to work out the legal framework of the notions used by us, like traditional places of residence. So this is from the federal law. The territory of traditional economic activity, the territory of the traditional nature management and regional environment. So these are four terms used in various contexts, and they can lead, and I see it from the last resolution of the Russian government from April 19, to some ethnic tension, to misunderstanding, to ruining the friendship and connections which the Arctic culture is famous for. So that's why, dear colleagues, I would like you to include into recommendations this proposal to legitimize, to give clear legal definitions of these terms, which everyone uses as he or she likes. And their misuse can be harmful in the practice. So we need to find our common legal language regarding culture. Thank you, Uliana Alexeyevna. We will definitely include your proposal. So you are talking about very important aspects of our work. Yes, and so these proposals are vital for promoting of our culture in general. Thank you. So I apologize to Natalia Plekhanova because now Ms. Alexeyeva from the Far Eastern Federal University is asking to give the floor to her because she's having a meeting afterwards. So next speaker, Galina Alexeyeva.
Так, микрофон не слышно, Галина Васильевна, вас мы не слышим. Микрофон. Угу. Получается, да, коллеги? Так. Где?
Так, слышно? Нет?
Да, теперь слышно.
Yes, now we can hear you. Hello, dear participants of the Roundtable. I'm very glad to see everybody, and it is a pleasure for me to see Sargelano and thank to Dmitry for his very informative presentation. I fully support Uliana Vinokurova, and I'm happy to see Ms. Dobzhanskaya and the whole staff of the Northern Forum. What Ms. Vinokurova has said, I think it is very important. And from my part, I would like to highlight the thing that although we live in Primorsky Krai, what we do in the area of culture, we also do it on the cross border with other regions. First of all, with the Pacific region. And also, we are in contact with Asia Pacific. That is why it is very important to present our culture globally in a right way. And I think that we have to make the inventory of all our projects of self-identity. I believe that the peoples who live in Yakutia, they have preserved their self-value. Yeah. When I went to Yakutsk and Krasnoyarsk, I got some proofs that Yakutia is the nation that preserves its real culture, and it has to be valued and presented at all levels. As the leader of the Assembly of Peoples of Primorsky Krai, I am inviting you to take part in the forum of the peoples of the Far East that we are scheduling in Vladivostok for 2023. It would be great to present Yakut national culture there. So this is my proposal to take part in the Forum of Peoples of the Far East in 2023 and to help us with our joint efforts to present the culture of the peoples of the Far East. I would also very much like to continue our contacts with Yakut scientists and to offer the opportunities of our institute in terms of studying the Yakut cultural traditions and other achievements of northern peoples. So these are the 2 points that I wanted to highlight. Maybe Sargolana will come to visit us in May. Well, yes, I'm planning. Oh, that's great. So these are my proposals. The research in culturology and geopolitics have to be continued. And today I was looking for the information about how many peoples live in the Far East. And Uliana Vinokurova is right when she says that there are a lot of different cultures in the Far East. And we have to study all aspects of circumpolar Arctic civilization. But I want us to view it in the context of all peoples of the Far East. So that's why I'm again inviting you to attend our forum in 2023. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. Yes, we wish you good luck also, and success and prosperity. So we are continuing our roundtable. I would like to give the floor to Natalia Plikhanova, President of the Fund for the Preservation of the Cultural Heritage of the Russian North, and the General Director of Principe
Good
PR
afternoon, dear
Media.
colleagues.
Да, так будет удобнее. Спасибо большое. На самом деле, вот из предыдущих выступлений я вижу...
So from previous presentation, I see that we are talking from different perspectives about the same thing. Of course, the North is the space of interaction, citing Mr. Zamyatin. We all understand that this is the case. But I would like to talk about this, our practical project. So this is a case how you can do this. I live in St. Petersburg and I work in St. Petersburg. And I'm involved in various cultural projects. But my friends connected me to Kargopol and Arkhangelsk. So we developed this project. So the second quote. Vladimir Vasilyev said today that culture comes first. And this is true. Because we can talk about economic and other achievements, but any cultural project in any region as soon as people turn their eyes to cultural projects, it attracts economic potential, maybe political and media attention. So actually our project can justify that. So Kargopol Museum, State Hermitage and Musical Museum, we joined in this project, the opening of the North. And it took us time how to name our exhibition. And now it is said that the opening of the North, education. So people who live in the Russian North, in Kargopol, in Arkhangelsk, they agreed with the title, but people who live in more central parts, they didn't understand the title. So I can send my presentation. So this is a festival which is centered around the exhibition. And I know this is quite a rare example of inter-museum interaction and cooperation. So each participant of this project
Ну, то есть нет, скажем так, главных участников и неглавных участников.
All participants are equal. And this is the value of the project. And you can duplicate this experience. So this project can solve a number of tasks. So first of all, we show the culture of the Russian North based on the artifacts which are displayed in Kargopol and Arkhangelsk museums.
Я уже настолько погружена в проект, могу что-то пропустить, представляю, что все знают. Вы мне, пожалуйста, пишите сразу вопросы. Но, тем не менее, выставка, которая базируется на артефактах музейных.
So the exhibition is based on museum exhibits, mainly costumes.
Можно ли листать презентацию?
Да, да. Я листаю или кто листает ее?
Я, и говорите мне, пожалуйста, куда листать. Следующий.
Да, нужно просто следующую страницу. Да, я дальше перескажу. Всех участников я назвала. Угу. Соответственно, производство этого продукта, да, мы понимаем, что это слово к культурным проектам, наверное, менее применимо, но вот оно стало все больше и больше развиваться.
So the word product is not quite suitable for cultural projects, but anyway, it is a product. It's a multi-purpose project, so which unites contemporary visual media and old exhibits. So our target auditorium is a wide circle of people, and we wanted to involve local communities, people of Kargopol and Arkhangelsk.
Но мне кажется, что без вовлечения местных жителей.
So without involving local residents, all cultural projects won't be successful. And we actually give jobs, and we. Well, maybe this also sounds too loud, but we make people proud of things they have in their culture. So we don't proclaim any slogans, or it's not a proclaimed patriotism. It's something, it's sort of patriotism which people build by themselves. And also it's an opportunity for the staff of local museums to refresh their qualification.
Современные художники как часть этого проекта, мне кажется, тоже очень важны.
And also contemporary artists are an important part of the project. Because in these small-scale regional museums, you can implement various projects.
Как срез каждого дня меняются просто стремительно.
So if we check news, we see that there are so many events that the picture changes every hour. And so that's why the more contemporary understanding of the North can be done by nowadays artists. And you can use social media. And this helps us to show what have been accumulated in the past 200 or 300 years. and it can reach multi-million audience in Russia and beyond.
Но мне кажется, что такой немного технический слайд не стала убирать, потому что он общий, мне кажется, для любого проекта, который кросс-культурен и с точки зрения проникновения культур.
So this is a cross-cultural project. In terms of different cultures and different regions, we can present this project in any region. So we have worked out this mechanism of the interaction between regional authorities, and we know how to make these projects not to look artificial for the local communities, because the involvement of local communities and local administrations is a very important part of the project. And the coverage in the federal media will also enhance the outreach of the project. I will skip the implementation action plan.
Проработали достаточно подробно каждый пункт. Ожидаемые результаты, да, безусловно.
So what are the expected results? Of course, you can implement any cultural, geocultural project, but everyone understands that the results are very important. So not to do it just for the report or something. It's very important what will be left after the project. And also the project must be vital to be able to reproduct further, because Kargopol and Arkhangelsk, it's only a small area of the Russian north, and even in these towns, other cultural projects can be implemented. So they can just select other works from their collections and to have different exhibitions. So we introduce new ways of displaying exhibits, because the exposition culture is changing very rapidly. So we can add objects of contemporary art, and supplement by works of Russian artists from different regions in the form of projections and pop-ups and various video editions or augmented reality. So this was our project, but we think that it can be also used by travel agencies. So for people, for example, in St. Petersburg or Moscow,
результат, тиражируемый для работы. Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. И, вероятно, ну, тоже уже такой завершающий слайд. Я об этом говорю все время, но мне кажется, это очень...
I'm talking about this all the time, but I think it's very important. And I would like to repeat again that for the local communities will be able to understand their heritage. And my experience of a person from outside,
вот это осознание своей идентичности, осознание, что ты живешь в маленьком городе Каргополе, который
the fact that you live in a small town of Kargopol,
из 10 человек, ну, наверное, мне кажется, половина узнала о городе из моего пресс-релиза, да, и для жителей города важно,
and
конечно,
for them it's very important to realize that their place is known in other parts of Russia. And, so people coming there, they get new impressions, and local residents see that their small life is interesting. To like major published sources like magazines or media.
более подробно рассказываю, из чего будет состоять выставка.
So here I'm talking about the exhibits of the exhibition and what artifacts.
Основная часть проекта базируется, конечно, на собрании Каргопольского музея.
So mostly we have exhibits from Kargopol Museum, but the State Hermitage is a major partner. So they also provide the exhibits.
Тех вещей, которые представляет Государственный Эрмитаж, это вещи, которые были сохранены и привезены из экспедиции в 70-х годах.
Which were brought from Kargopol or Arkhangelsk in the 1970s. So now from field trips. So this is like the return of the items found in these areas.
Откуда эти вещи были сохранены, они сгорели в 80-х годах. То есть этого места,
so most of the houses from the 20th century, they were burned in 1980s. So this is a chance to see these exhibits again.
Это некий такой двойной, получается, туризм. Сначала гости из Москвы и Петербурга, да, мы берем все-таки федеральное направление, приезжают в Каргополь.
So first we have, for example, tourists from Moscow and St. Petersburg. They go to Kargopol.
Архангельска, они 2 месяца мы предполагаем, что выставка будет в Архангельске, также ее посещают.
So we believe that then this exhibition will go to Arkhangelsk and stay there for 2 months probably.
И некий след я пропустила в начале, да, вот этого развития, важный шаг, что Петербургский театральный музей представит оригиналы Бакста, Коровина, Рериха.
Also, Theatre Museum from St. Petersburg is going to provide exhibits by Bakst and other famous artists from the early 20th century. So in the costumes of these artists, we can see their interpretation of the traditional Russian costume. We can skip probably this because this is just a description. As for State Hermitage, these are the exhibits from this State Museum. So these exhibits like these are not present in Kargopol Museum, so that's why we are taking them from the State Hermitage.
Это также те предметы, которые предполагаются
Also
то, о чем я говорила.
exhibits for the exhibition.
Позволило спасти экспонаты.
So they were found accidentally in 1964, and now they are returning to Kargopol. So these are the drawings of theatrical costumes.
И, наверное, заканчивая презентацию, все-таки позволю
And in conclusion, I would like to talk in more detail about contemporary art. And I think it's a very important element of our project, because you can show original costumes and old objects, and many ethnographic museums do that, just to make people remember the past, but without the interaction of old and contemporary culture, it is impossible to go further. So the curator of our exhibition has selected several artists who use this topic. So their works are very popular. So their works will enhance the exhibition, and they have very wide public outreach. So all of them are young female artists who treat the heritage of the Russian North very carefully, and they familiarize a wide circle of people with Northern culture.
Выставка и, наверное, работы Полины Осиповой.
Полина Осипова, for example.
Разработки этого проекта, они, наверное, легли в какую-то такую подсознательную основу, и художник...
So actually they served as the impetus probably for this project in general. So the images she created.
Это очень много вещей. Это нарядная одежда, это крестьянская
одежда. In Kargopol and Arkhangelsk, they have very rich collections of costumes, but you cannot show everything. And so the artificial pearls used by Polina Osipova brought us to natural pearls. So which was widely used for decorating crowns. So this so her works made us remember what people were in Russia, people of different social circles. And how it is interpreted now. Uliana Podkorytova is also one of the artists. So you see how many contemporary artists actually use these motifs. So this is not a forgotten art, which is stored only in museums. This is something that can be displayed.
Хотим показать, мы знаем, как это делать, как можно правильно
So we know how to do it right, to show historical heritage for the maximum outreach.
Наверное, так. Я буду рада вопросам, я буду рада
I'm glad to answer your questions and to send my presentation if you want to. And I would I will be glad to answer questions because we do know how to implement projects like this, and this idea can be implemented in many regions. Thank you very, very much. This is very interesting project connected with the cultural heritage, and it fits in the general topic of our today's table. And this exhibition is a very successful example of how northern regions can expand their geocultural space. I would like to note the really keynote speech by Andrei Borisov, because he is a very charismatic person to the north. And it's very important that he focuses on practice, on some specific project. And we see that specific projects, they actually make us move forward. And they ensure cooperation between different geocultural communities and different identities. And of course, accept his proposal of cooperation within the Geocultural Institute. And Yana Nikolaevas Yana Vinokurov's proposals on working out the terms is very important because, again, they are very important for culture as well. And it is important that these concepts also penetrate legal practice, because all the regulatory documents, they can also utilize the same methodology. And I would like to underline that what we are discussing today is the topic of 21st century. Levi-Strauss once told that the 21st century will be the age of fine arts, or otherwise it won't be. So, and though in media they discuss mostly technology, but in fact the 21st century is going to become the century of geocultures. So, and now I would like to give the floor for a very important topic, which the floor goes to Oksana Dobzhanskaya, who is going to talk about sounding landscapes of the Arctic.
Dear participants of the Northern Forum, I hope that you can hear me. Today, I would like to greet you and to thank for this opportunity to speak and to tell you about the sounding landscapes of the Arctic. Arctic is one of the most quiet places on the planet. The nature talks to the people of tundra and taiga through natural phenomena, through winds, thunders, lightnings, the songs of birds, and special sounds of sacred places. Very often, the sounds of the landscape that are relevant to the residents of these places are very important. So the scientific methodology for studying these sounding landscapes resulted from a grant project of the Russian Scientific Foundation on the integrated research of the Arctic. It involved the specialists from the Institute, the Arctic Institute of Culture and Arts, and the leader of this project is Dmitry Zamyatin. The author of this project is our Professor Yuri Sheikin and his students. So what is the concept of this sounding landscapes? It takes into account the scientific developments of Russian and international researchers, the concept of sound landscapes and aboriginal landscape of different authors that you can see on the screen. And studying the sounding ethnomusical landscape of the Arctic is quite difficult because due to social and economic problems, the traditional lifestyle of indigenous people was damaged. And we still use the works of some of very well-known scientists. Although these theories have been developed quite long ago, they are quite topical today. And Professor Sheikin, who in collaboration with the leading music experts have developed this methodology. They used their fieldwork materials and very deep contemplation of all available scientific data. So from the point of view of interdisciplinarity, this methodology is related to the methodology of studying the sounding landscape. So we think that this sounding landscape of the Arctic is a spatial and temporal complex of natural and anthropogenic sounds that create some sort of sounding image of the locality. And yes, indeed, in the Arctic, the sounds, they go far because usually in the cold air, it is even even enough to produce a very quiet sound to be heard in many kilometers. That is why, because of this very special climate of the Arctic, and because of the need for preserving this audio technology, we have to pay attention to making this sound landscape clean and to not to be damaged by these industrial sounds. because we know that some sounds from oil refineries and other plants, they can damage this natural sounding landscapes. So the structure of this landscape is multi-layered. The first one is international cooperation with the nature, then some social and personal features of the person. The international interaction with nature is a dialogue between a human and the nature. So this is how a person understands the messages from nature and tries to respond. This layer includes onomatopoeia in various domains. The international perception of sacred localities is very important. For example, we have to follow some sound bands in certain areas. For example, Nganasan or Chukchi culture, they believe that each object has its own voice. Praising the natural phenomenon are well known to Yakut people who sing Algыс blessings. It is also known to Evenk people who praise their rivers, like Aldan River. This layer also should include the onomatopoeia. For example, reindeer herders who use sound commands to manage the reindeer. These are ritual dancing. Second layer, the projection of human personality to outside, is also very important. Anthropogenic sounding landscape harmonizes with a natural landscape because it establishes the presence of a human in the natural landscape. For example, a long road song in Ganasan or Nenets culture, because there people fix their memories of some landscapes from the past, or they can help the travel of shaman into sacred worlds. And then a layer of instruments, sound instruments. It is fixing the sounds in some material objects. The collection of such instruments is presented in the Museum of Musical Instruments at the Institute of Arctic Art and Culture. And they represent the subject and sound world of different ethnoses. In 2019, we produced a collection, a collected monography, which is called The Sounding Landscapes of the Arctic, where we researched the musical folklore of Chukotka, Kamchatka, Sakhalin, Central Siberia, West Siberia, and Udmurtia. So what is the topicality of this concept and what are the prospects. Today, Arctic is not only a very important resource of socio-economic development of many regions and countries. Another important aspect here is that it has to do with culturological and art research that are developed by the scientists of the Lab of Integrated Geocultural Research of the Arctic. And the study of the sounding landscapes of the Arctic, they allow to deepen the knowledge about the connection between the musical and the general culture uh, indigenous peoples with the nature. And it helps to realize the need for preserving these sounding landscapes as the locations of the indigenous peoples. And speaking about the prospects for future research, we have to see the opportunity for using this concept in musical studies, cultural geography, anthropology, contemporary musical study, art study, culturology, theater study, and even in musical therapy, because studying these healing properties of Arctic nature can be very topical now. The study of a sounding landscape of the Arctic as an sound image of the territory is topical to form the prospects for the development of the Arctic, taking into account the spiritual needs and social interests of its residents. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Oksana. Yes, indeed, it is a very interesting topic, and it is very new, but our group of scientists headed by Dr. Shakin has worked in this domain since the establishment of the laboratory, the Laboratory of Geocultural Research of the Arctic. And during these years, the topic of the sounding landscape of the Arctic has attracted the interests of many young researchers, especially the postgraduates who work in music research. So thank you, Oksana, for this presentation. And now I would like to give the floor to Елена Меньшакова, Director of the State Budgetary Institution Museum Association of Nenets Autonomous Okrug. This is the winner project of the Northern Forum call for projects, New Cities in the Old Land. And the topic is quite serious also, so please.
Thank you very much. I'm thankful for this opportunity to talk on this roundtable because I have been inspired by the presentations I heard, and I've made so many notes, and the presentations have given me ideas for new projects. And I do believe that culture should change the life in the territories, and it's a general global trend. And we are talking not only just separate exhibitions or events for leisure activities. It must be done for together with people and for people, and improve living conditions to preserve the rich heritage of all the people of the territory. So our project, New Cities in the Old Land, wasn't accidental. We have been implementing projects for 25 years, projects in the sphere of social and cultural institutions. And when we started working on the Pustozersk presence now, we saw that it is not expressed. It is covered by 4 meters of soil. There is nothing there. So people now of the Nenets Autonomous Okrug don't understand this heritage. This is quite heavy heritage, and we still don't know how to tell people about Pustozersk. And we were looking for the points to make this accessible, modern, and understandable for people now. So we designed this project, which is being implemented this year. It is called New Cities in the Old Land. So today's problem in the world is that we have very many new towns. Myanmar is actually successor of Pustozersk. So Pustozersk became extinct in the 1920s, and so Myanmar replaced it. And people of our town, they don't know the history of this place, the history of the past several hundred years, because Myanmar was founded on an empty space. And so people who live in Myanmar, they are migrants. They are people who came here to develop the territory. Maybe their grandparents or parents came here, maybe from other villages or from nomadic camps or from other regions of Russia. So that's why in the towns, you don't have you don't see the expression of old settler cultures or indigenous people's cultures, and we want to tell people of new cities that there is old heritage, and this divide between new city cultures and old heritage is done with the help of artists. So you see the picture of Myanmar on the left and Salihard on the right, and you see that you actually don't see any difference. So this is not only the case of Myanmar and Salihard. So our task is to overcome the divide between the historical heritage, which is not accepted or seen by modern people as some value. But we want to people who live in new cities to understand the value of the heritage. So cities and towns, they must become cultural centers based on some old cultures. So again, these projects like this, they can be replicated in all parts of the world, because nowadays we see that many settlements are founded in new places. So we For example, we cooperate with people in Netherlands because they have the same thing that when in the 1970s they reclaimed land from the sea and established a town in like 1970s. So for them, for people of new cities, it's very difficult to see their to find their identity. So the partners are Land Art Flevoland. So this is the from Flevoland province from the Netherlands, and Museum Association of Nenets Autonomous Okrug and Mal Nenets Museum. So what do we want to do, achieve? So we are preparing the art residence to take place in August and September in Pustozersk, so the settlement which is not existent anymore. So we are invited 6 artists from different regions. So 2 artists from the Netherlands, 2 artists from Yamal Nenets Autonomous Okrug, and 2 artists from Nenets Autonomous Okrug. So the curator from the Dutch arts is Irina Leischer, who has vast international experience of implementing projects like this. So actually that was her idea. So we want to unite artists, and now we are doing that online because there is no other way of doing that at the moment. So we bring them together to reflect on this unexposed heritage of Pustozersk, on the unknown Dutch history and heritage. And actually, a Dutch traveler was in this area in the 18th century and made the first map of the area. So this is our joint, something which joins us. So we are talking about the collections of our museums, and we hope to introduce into creative circulation at least 1,000 artifacts from the Nenets Museum. We show these exhibits to our artists. We send them songs and music and examples of oral tradition, so that to inspire them, and so that during this residence they produce 6 pieces of art which will bring sense and as a starting point for promoting Pustozersk. So the artists are not limited in terms of techniques or materials or the presentation of the piece of art. So they can create anything. It can be, they can use interactive technologies, they can have some tangible objects. We want to present this new knowledge got during this research, then make them available for local communities. So one of the exhibitions at the end of this year is to be in Salihard. and in early 2022 exhibition in Myanmar, and there will be wide public outreach, and including meetings with local people, local authorities, local academia. And during these talks, we hope to develop some new ideas how to introduce this heritage into the cultural space of cities and towns. And despite the restriction, we hope to have enough audience. So our aim is 3,000 visitors, and this is an achievement by itself. So another aim is to establish long-term partnership relations between the participants of the project. Also, we hope that there will be public debates probably in the regions of the Northern Forum. So these are pictures when these two curators from the Netherlands came to Myanmar, and we were thinking about our project. Of course, there are some obstacles. The Northern Forum hasn't supported our financial application in full, so we are looking for additional financing, including the state programs, and we have applied to the Russian World Foundation. So we would like also to have an exhibition in the Netherlands later, and so that's why we are working with international organizations like the General Consulate of the Netherlands in the Russian Federation, and with the Embassy of the Netherlands. They are interested in the project. So from 10 to 14th of March, we had a delegation from the Embassy and General Consulate of the Netherlands in Myanmar. So after seeing our place, they expressed their readiness to support our project. So the project has started. Last February, we selected the artists, all 6 artists. We had online meetings, and you see in the pictures on the right all the artists. So now we are thinking about the schedule of public events. So we are thinking about target groups and about some people or places which could inspire our artists. Also, we are studying the collections of our museums, and we are preparing the art residence in Myanmar in Kastazers, and we are working on the project promotion plan. So we hope that this project will be interesting not only for the region's participants of the project, but also I think that it can be replicated and enlarged. So this project, New Cities on the Old Lands, is relevant for all Arctic and circumpolar territory, because there are people in modern cities or small cities detached from their identity, finding this identity is very important. So we will be glad to receive any support, and I'm grateful to the Northern Forum for the opportunity to present our project yesterday on the General Assembly and today at the Roundtable. So this round table has been a real inspiration for me in the search of further development. So a small comment. Today, you mentioned that the geocultural identity is made by different loci, but there is micro geocultural identity. Each municipality, each settlement or village have their own identity. And this is important now because this mosaic makes, this jigsaw makes the picture of the region. So that's why together with the local people, we must find ways to present the region, their settlement beautifully, and to make them proud of the settlements, their villages and places. And then we will be able to solve the problem of people migrating from their homelands. When people are proud and they understand the richness of their heritage, then we will reach this goal and people will stay. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Elena. This is actually a very important thing. So this social aspect that people leave, migrate from their places, or young people don't want to go back. It is indeed a social challenge, one of the most urgent today for the Arctic. So this was our last scheduled presentation. I would like to note that today we had a very good talk about a very important topic, preservation of geocultural identity of people in the Arctic. And as Юрий Замятин mentioned, geoculture involves development of certain geocultural images in the culture, and understanding these images is the topic which we have discussed today, and all the speakers today, they shared their opinion, like Victoria Лукина, and Natalia Plekhanina, and Oksana Dobzhanskaya, and Elena Meshakova. You all were talking about key aspects of geocultural identity, the view of, from the perspective of museum activities, music. It was most informative and useful. It widens our horizon and our thinking. And it also develops the topic of the value, the importance of traditional values. Now I would like to ask Andrei Borisov to make some conclusion.
Андрей Савич чуть позже выступит, просит пока выступающих.
Да.
Уже да, может.
Андрей Савич здесь, я вижу. Поэтому, Андрей Савич, вам слово. Вы же там заняты, поэтому время дорого, наверное.
Уважаемые участники нашей...
Dear participants of our roundtable, I had to attend another conference, but I was listening to the presentations from our roundtable participants. And I also confirmed that we were right to initiate this roundtable, and we chose the topic for our roundtable as a geocultural identity of northern peoples. And I'm confident that the wideness of this topic, it suggests that we have to somehow localize the topics that we have been discussing today. And what I suggested that we have to draft a program. I think that those people who are in Myanmar now, they will produce the resolution of a roundtable. And based on this resolution, we will step by step within the Northern Forum to develop the cultural aspect. So it would be some sort of 3-in-1 roundtable, Northern identity, and cultural aspect. So these are the 3 directions that we have established today for the Northern Forum and its staff. So thank you very much. We will work. Thank you, Mr. Borisov. Yes, we will work. We have some invitations. I would like to thank Uliana Vinokurova for joining us, and the proposals that you sent to us by WhatsApp, we will include into our final resolution. And also I would like to thank Galina Alexeyeva from Primorye. Your proposals will also be included. And I would also like to ask all our colleagues like Vera and Ekaterina your proposals, we are waiting for them. Oksana, please submit your proposals as well. And all the speakers who were presenting today, we are waiting for your proposals to the Northern Forum email. And I would like to thank everybody for active participation. Yes, I agree with Mr. Borisov that our conversation was good. And we have come up with some new ideas, and maybe to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Northern Forum, we will come up with a very serious joint project, like Irina said. I propose that we organize a good exhibition of our Arctic artists on the geocultural images, and we would represent the Northern Forum in the world. Thank you to Dmitry Zamyatin, but he had to leave because he has to go back to Moscow to some event. But we will produce the resolution today. And then we will disseminate this resolution to your emails, and maybe you will come up with some amendments. And what Andrei Borisov said about the program, it's a very complicated task. We have to work on that together. And this newly established Institute of Geocultural Development in Yakutia, it's a very serious I think that this Institute of Geocultural Research will study the geocultural processes in the Arctic. And we call upon all our partners and members to join this serious project. And your intellectual capital will be in great demand. I think that Andrei Borisov agrees with me. And of course, our Institute of Arctic Culture and Art, in cooperation with our doctors and professors, will help in every possible way. And as we have heard today from our scientists, the topic is interesting and very actual, and as Dmitry said, it's the topic for the 21st century. So let the geocultures be. Let our Arctic culture thrive. Thank you very much to everybody. I wish you all the best and prosperity. Good luck. Thank you very much.